Good morning, everybody. Welcome to New Hampshire Motor Speedway, to this weekend's NASCAR events. We are joined now by the number 22 Shell Pennzoil Ford, Joey Logano. Joey, I understand that you've had a pretty busy week here this week with Joey Logano Foundation and the Drive for Hope. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, Driving Hope Home was the name of the event we had this weekend. It's our 5th annual fundraiser we had for the Joey Logano Foundation, and it was great. It was held at the Foxwood Casinos, and it was a great time. We had a dinner on Wednesday night, and had a lot of really cool things going on, and a concert, and we had Sparshaw there, who is a JL Kids Crew member earlier this year at Pocono, and he sang a song for us as well, and then we had a go-kart race, which was a lot of fun. It's a lot more fun than golf for me. I'm not a big golfer. That's what we were doing before, is golf events. But we went to a go-kart track that was opening. It was the first day, actually, they were open. And we had a great race. And Brad and Blaney and Ryan Preece were all there. And we had a great time. And had a bunch of people and raised a lot of money. I think the numbers that come in were over 250 grand. So proud of the effort we put into that to a lot of it was going towards the Ronald McDonald House in Connecticut to help give families at-home type environment, at least as close as you can. We're at the Yale Hospital there, so that was cool to see that we can really make an impact there, and also give a lot of kids a second chance throughout the year. So pretty proud of the effort that Lisa, our foundation director, and the team at Clutch Management did to do a great job and put together a great event and made a lot of money to make a difference. So I was proud of that.
We're going to open the floor to questions now. If you have a question, raise your hand. The mic will come around when you're called on. State your name and affiliation and ask your question. We'll go with Mike, then Mark, in the front. Okay.
Mike Hemric, USA Today. Joey, you guys are running a strange new course at Charlotte. Stewart wants to run more dirt. Kyle's calling for more short tracks. What's sort of your vision of what the ideal schedule would be?
That's a great question. I think really going to a racetrack one time kind of makes sense to me. Whether it's a mile and a half, a super speedway, whatever it may be, I think if you go to a racetrack once, it makes it more of an event. I think sometimes when you have two races, and this weekend will be a great test to see how that works as Loudon goes from 2 to 1. I think when you think of there's two races and you're a fan that can only afford to go to one, well, you're just going to most likely choose the playoff race here. So it'll be interesting to see what the stands look like on Sunday, because now it's an event. You can't miss this one and have a chance to go to the next one. This is the race for a lot of people from where I'm from in this New England region. So kind of interested to see how that's going to work. But that's kind of my thing. Short tracks are a lot of fun. I like short tracks a lot. Hey, you want to go dirt racing? Strap in, let's go. I don't care as long as I'm racing.
Go ahead, Mark.
Mark Garrow, PRN. Joey, are you surprised we still have 3 drivers dominating the victory column the way we have this deep into the season? And how many guys besides yourself do you feel are seriously in the running to make it a big 3 to make it a big 4?
I guess I'm surprised by it because we haven't seen this in a long time, to where 3 cars are just that dominant and being able to win races. There's other cars that can lead laps, but it doesn't seem like the right ones. And it seems like they always find a way to prevail at the end, whether it's the speed in their car or their pit stops or restarts, whatever it may be. They find themselves up front when it matters the most. And they're, obviously they can recover from mistakes pretty well because of their speed as well. So they just able to be there at the right times. And, we're not quite at that point yet. As a race team, we're not far from it. We just hang really close. We're consistent. We can run in the top 10 about anywhere right now. We can make some top 5 finishes every now and again. We have to have the perfect day to win a race at this point. We have to have the perfect strategy, a great car that's maximized to the best handling we can possibly make it. There's just no margin for error throughout the whole event for us right now. So we just have to be on our game right now to be able to win races. And not saying we can't. We just have to be perfect. And it's not easy. Not that it's ever easy to win a race, but it's like I said, the margin that we're working with right now isn't as big as what you see those top 3 cars that are able to be consistently fast, even if their car may not be quite perfect.
As a follow-up for this go-kart race you were talking about, do you have anyone at this point you need to apologize to for that event, and how did it go? What happened during
As far as crashing somebody? No, we're good. I'm good. I'm good. Anytime you strap a helmet on, Todd always makes fun of me because he says it cuts my blood circulation off right here. And I might not make the best decisions. And I think it's just a competitive environment, right? But we had a great time. We broke the race down into 4 stages. So you had 4 10-minute stages, and after each 10-minute stage, you get out, and the next member on your team would drive. And then we had a 5-lap shootout at the end. So I was driving for Planet Fitness's team, and Brad had a Harvest Investments, and Blaney was driving for a company called GNT that owns a lot of Planet Fitness franchises, and then there's a lot of other great companies too that were able to do that. So at the end, it was actually really cool because you put all your heavy hitters at the end of the race, right? And we had one heck of a race to the end, and Blaney got me. I'd give it to him. He won, but we had a good race all the way to the finish. It was fun.
We'll go Rich, Dustin, and then Lee.
Rich Thompson, Boston Herald. As a young driver from New England, did you and your guys back then look up to Ricky Craven? Was he kind of the example of a New England driver to you?
Yeah, I think, as a New England racer, growing up, you think of the Ricky Cravens, you think of, a lot of the modified guys, really, is what I grew up watching. I used to race at Thompson, the Little T. It was the quarter midget track down at the bottom of the hill. And then we go up to watch the modifieds and watch Teddy and a whole bunch of guys be able to slug it out up there, and that was for up north, modifieds are the deal. That's as big as it gets up here, and they put on one heck of a show, and we see that every week here, but they do it about every racetrack. They have a hell of a race. So that's really who I grew up watching, was all the racers up here. And then obviously as it moves down to Atlanta and then to Charlotte, you watch more and more of the cup racing and the stock cars type stuff, late models and things like that.
Behind you. Lee, oh, go ahead. Okay.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Joey, with all this talk about where to race, dirt track, racing at a road course at Charlotte, and all these other ideas, is all this talk about making these different big changes in the sport nonsensical, or is it a case of this is a time where big, bold decisions need to be considered and need to be made?
I think it's important for us to make change to keep up with the times, right? Because the way people consume sports in general has changed, right? It's not the same as what it used to be with social media or just the way people are these days, right? Not as many people sit down in front of a TV for that long, right? So you have to figure out ways to keep people's attention during a long period of time. So we have to make changes. Every sport's going to make changes. We have to keep up with the times. So I think that's what you see in the sport right now, is that we're realizing that. We're realizing that a lot of the social numbers are growing, and that means people are consuming our sport more from a digital or a device way. Not that TV still has great numbers, right? I mean, you think of it, most weekends we're still the #1 sport on television. So that's something that we should be proud of, and we're still realizing we're big. I know we like talking about negative stories, and I don't know why, but we seem to always draw that way. But there's a lot of positive going on in our sport, and the changes are just to make it better. And why not? I mean, you got to try things every now and again, right? You can try different packages on the car, try different racetracks, try different formats, things like that. Why not? And you don't know until you do it. We can talk about things and talk about doing this, talking about doing that, but you don't really know until you try it. So you might as well give it a shot. At least that's my opinion. I'm good with trying things, and if it doesn't work, then we say, oh, we tried and we move on.
No idea is too bizarre, too wild right
No, I think there's some that are probably too far. You can go too far. We still have to be methodical about it and be smart and make the right decisions. We can't just jump out and do something, but at the same time, I think going out and taking some risk and trying some things is not a bad thing. Yep.
Lee Spencer, RacingBoys.com. Joey, I'm over here.
Oh, yeah, I
sorry,
didn't see
babe.
you. Dustin's blocking her.
Arrow's
His head.
Well, we can change that. But Arrow comes into play, wherever we go. But can New Hampshire be a track that might be an equalizer, kind of like your restrictor plates have been for Penske? Kind of balancing off of Mark's question about the big three. Is this a track where the field might be a little more even, and it might be an opportunity where you guys might be able to get one?
I think it is one of those racetracks that you see the same drivers fast every time. So it means it's a challenging racetrack, and the drivers that get it, something that clicks in their head and the way they drive the car or what they're looking for, they're able to make some speed out of it. So there's some uniqueness there for sure. But at the same time, Arrow's still a pretty big deal. We're still going pretty fast. Fast car is a fast car, right? You would say that about Sonoma too, wouldn't you? And then, the same cars are up there racing for the win that you would expect. And that would be at about any other racetrack. So a fast car is just a fast car at this point. And it's not just air that makes those three cars faster than everybody. There's a lot of mechanical pieces that are working really well into their favor as well. So, it's just racing though. It's never just one thing. It's a bunch of little things that stack up. And this is a racetrack that, dirty air does play. Getting clean air is a lot of time a big deal, and that's the PJ1 or VHT or track bite, whatever we're calling it today. That definitely helps make the track wider to try to get some air on the nose and help that. So that's I think a good gain. But I wouldn't be surprised to see the same guys fast. I mean, because they got good cars and they got great drivers. I mean, you're gonna go fast. That's what happens.
Hi, Joey. Terrell Covey, Portsmouth Herald. I'm just wondering, you've had some success at this track, some big moments for you. How special is it for you when you come back here, and what would it mean to come out with a win this weekend?
Yeah, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. When we won here, I think it was 2015 or 14, that to me was as big as winning the Daytona 500. Just conquering a track that at the time was my most challenging racetrack. As a driver, I was one of the drivers that didn't have their head wrapped around it and understand what it takes to go fast. So to be able to conquer at the time, the most challenging racetrack that happened to be your home racetrack as well, that to me was the coolest. Winning that race and having my family here and a lot of friends and to celebrate in Victory Lane with. You don't have that everywhere. So that's what I think every driver can say winning at their home track is one of their, if not their biggest win of their career.
We'll go Claire, and then we'll go Matthew over here.
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. I know you always had high aspirations, but when you grew up watching the racers in this part of the country, could you have even thought that you would come this far? I mean, what were your thoughts about making it this far at that time, and whether you thought that this would even be possible?
For me, when you're 7, I think I was 7 or 8 years old when I came and watched my first Cup race here, and when you're that old, there's nothing telling you can't, right? I'm gonna make a Cup race and I'm gonna win championships. Watch this, I'm gonna be awesome. All kids are, they have a dream like that, and that's really cool. And kids should have dreams like that and be able to try to make them happen. And sometimes you may have to change your dream as you go. But I've been fortunate enough to be able to continue that long road to try to get to a championship. And I still think it is cool though to be out there, because I remember coming here my first time and watching, at the time it was the Busch North Series and the modifieds and the Cup race, and I met Jeff Gordon. I thought it was like the coolest thing in the world, and then you go out there and race against him, 10 years later or so. It's crazy to think how quickly that can happen, and that it actually did happen. because you think about our sports, one of the hardest sports to make it in, because obviously there's only 40 seats out there, and not all of them are really good ones, and then the lifespan of a driver is pretty long. You can race for a long time. You race up into your mid 40s or sometimes even longer. So to be able to break in is really challenging. So it's not easy to do. There's not a bunch of it's not a rotating door a lot of times. That once someone gets in there, gets that experience, you're in. So it's hard to break in. But I was fortunate enough to have the right opportunities to make the most of it and be racing against the best.
And who are your heroes racing around here? Not the Cup guys, but the modified racers, or the ones you looked up to as a kid.
Yeah, it was Reggie, and I remember watching him a lot, and Teddy, Christopher, obviously, and then I was, I got older, I got to know them a little bit and race against those guys, and that was cool, and the New England guys are just it's just a different feel when you go to the racetracks up here, and so I think that to me just kind of makes it feel at home because that's what I grew up around. You got the museum just right over across the street here that has a lot of the New England history that, a lot of it I didn't even know, and you walk through it and you learn a lot about the drag race and the dirt race and all that stuff that, I didn't quite follow when I was a kid and I was young and didn't really know what was going on either. But, there's a lot of racing heritage in New England that I think it's overshadowed a lot of times because everyone thinks of NASCAR's roots being, born in the South. But and some of that's true. But at the same time, there's a lot of really good racers that came from up north, and a lot of great racing that happened up here, and a lot of great race fans as well. So I always enjoy coming up here. Food's better too.
Matthew over here.
Matthew Werners with WWLP 22 News. Ryan or Joey, it seems cool to watch you climb through the ladder over the years and have fans watch you climb through the ladder. But how cool is it to see Ryan Preece climb through the ladder right now, another Connecticut native?
Yeah, Ryan and I, we started racing at the same time at Silver City and Meriden, Connecticut. We started at the same time, raced against each other along the whole way, and it's kind of neat to see Bobby Santos. I think he's probably in the modified race this week. He came from Silver City as well. Savali was for there. There's a lot of really good racers that came from the same little quarter midget track, which is crazy. We all raced against each other growing up, and it's neat to see that coming full circle to where we're racing against each other in the big leagues now. That's pretty neat.
Right here in the front.
Amy Harrop, Raceway Weekly. At this point last season, you were pretty frustrated with how things were going for your team. Mindset must be a lot more relaxed this year at this time. So can you talk to us a little bit more about the mindset that you have now and coming into the playoffs later on this season?
Honestly, my mindset isn't much different than last year. The fact that we're locked in the playoffs, that's great, but that's only one part of it. That's not what the goal is. The goal isn't to make the playoffs. The goal is to win the championship. And like we talked about earlier, we're not quite at that level yet to make that happen. We can make it happen this year. We gotta make some gains here. We gotta make them pretty quick because the playoffs aren't too far down the road from where we are right now. So we gotta definitely make some gains here soon. But the mindset isn't any different. At this point last year, my goal was still to win the championship, and then we kind of realized that we had bigger problems than even that. But I think the mindset is always how can we be better? How can we work harder to find that advantage? That's always a constant.
Any other final questions? Right here in the front.
Nicholas Tito, YankeeRacer.com. Joey, the K9 E Series was a part of your development, and can you just talk about the significance of that in your career, and then also allowed and continuing to provide multiple weekends for those drivers to compete here?
Yeah, K&N I got to run a year of, and it was definitely a fun year to. I remember a lot of it. It was a great time. Racing a lot of races up here, up this way, which was a lot of fun. And to see that series still, thriving and being strong, and seeing a lot of young talent in that series is cool because, when I was racing it, we had a lot of, the guys that been racing Busch North forever, and then it became the K&N East and West deal, and you had a lot of those guys you're racing, so it's a cool mix then, as you had some guys that had a ton of experience, and then you had some new rookies coming in. You had a lot of cup type race teams with driver development programs that were in that at the time as well, and it's changed some, right? Obviously, as time goes, drivers retire, new drivers come in, new teams come in, and that's just the rotation of the sport. But it's cool to see that they're still putting on great races. They got a good series going, so that's important for the growth of every level at NASCAR. Is when you go down to the grassroots levels, and how you grow not only drivers but crew members and crew chiefs and all that. A lot of them start from there and they work their way up, and that's I say it a lot of times too. And there's a lot of good crew chiefs and a lot of them have engineering degrees, but most of them and almost all of them have some kind of racing background that they started from in the short track level at some point. And when they can put those two together, and you can talk to engineer speak, but you get racing and you have racing savvy, that's what makes the best ones.
Thanks for coming in, Joey.
All right, cool.
Good luck this weekend.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, a round of applause. Wow. Thank you.
Sorry about that. We are now joined by Martin Truex Jr., driver of the number 78 5-Hour Energy Bass Pro Shops Toyota. Martin had a big honor this week with the ESPYs. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. It was I was huge honor. Really, definitely excited for that and the team to be recognized, and definitely a great list of drivers that were up for that award. So to win it was quite a thrill for me, and definitely a big honor and something hopefully we can use for a little motivation and keep the roll going.
Okay, we'll open the floor for questions. We'll start with Mike, then we'll go to Matthew in the front here.
Mike Hemric, USA Today.
Hey, bud.
Hey. Stewart wants you guys to run on dirt at Eldora. Kyle Busch wants more short tracks. You guys are running the crazy road course at Charlotte.
Okay.
What's your kind of vision of what the schedule would look like if you were in charge?
I'm not sure. I mean, I'd be okay racing, all those different things. I'm no dirt track expert by any means, but I think it would be fun to try. Maybe we can have the all-star race at the dirt track at Charlotte or something to try it out. Who knows? But certainly a lot of excitement around the truck race that they had this week at Eldora, and it'd be fun to try it. I don't know if it fits for what the series is or what it means, but people smarter than me could figure that out. And short tracks, I think, is a good thing. I think more short tracks will be good, but the problem is, where are they? What tracks do we go to, and is somebody going to build new ones, or are we going to change tracks? We already have 36 races, and it's going to be hard to fit more in. So, yeah, I think it's a more complicated problem than just saying we need to go here and we need to go there.
We'll stay on the left side. We're going to go Matthew, Bob, and Reed.
Matthew Werners with WWLP 22 News. Martin, people have watched you climb up through the ladder through the years. Last year you won a Cup championship, but how cool is it to see Ryan Preece, another New Englander, to climb up through the ladder, racing for Joe Gibbs, and get that opportunity?
Well, it's been really neat to watch, and obviously he's a great talent and has worked hard to get where he's at, and it's been good to see him have success. So, it really, what he's doing reminds me of, when I first started running down south and, running full-time in the North Series and dabbling in the, the Busch Series a bit, working on my own cars during the week, and then, going racing and a few times a year getting to go drive somebody else's car and have success. So it's been good to see what he's been able to do, and he's obviously made a name for himself. He made a name for himself up here first, but now he's showing that he can get it done anywhere with, winning at Bristol and all he's done. So, hopefully he can, kind of get more races and get a full-time deal going and extend, move his career to kind of a full-time driver status.
We'll go Bob, we'll go Reed, and then we'll go Mark.
Bob Pockers, ESPN. Were you surprised at all about the 5-hour decision, and do you worry about it, or do you feel like if Barney needs to, he'll put Furniture Row back on the hood of the car?
I don't know that I was surprised. I felt like they've been on the fence for kind of a while, and we've kind of been waiting on a decision. So I don't know that I was surprised, but I guess I wish it didn't take quite as long as it did, and kind of puts us in a tough spot now. But I'm not really worried. I mean, I think something good can come out of this. Obviously, it's not great timing with all that's going on, but I've got confidence in my team and what we're doing, and hopefully we can find a replacement for that. I don't see Barney putting furniture row back on the car and doing that. I don't know that he can make that work anymore. So we'll see where it goes from here, but obviously committed to the team and trying to figure out how we can continue moving forward, and hopefully there's a company out there that we can do a great job representing, and hopefully they'll come out and show their support here shortly.
Reed, Mark, and then Al.
Reed Spencer with NASCAR Wire Service. Was it a surprise to you to win the SP for Driver of the Year, given the competition that you faced in that award?
Yeah, honestly, it was a big surprise. I didn't have any expectations. I thought it was cool to be nominated, and I really didn't think about it much more after that. And then, somebody actually texted me the other night and was like, "Hey, you won the SP." I was like, "What? Seriously?" So I was definitely really surprised, and it was pretty cool. Yeah, obviously, like I said, a great honor. A lot of great drivers on that list. So a lot of people I respect and enjoy watching, and pretty cool to be able to win that.
Mark Garrow, PRN. Martin, I was listening to you speak last week at Kentucky, and you being part of the big three, you talk about, sometimes I have to maybe pinch myself that we've got this rolling the way it is. For Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch, they had a lot of success early in their career, and this kind of, I guess, performance maybe is a little old hat for them. For you, it's something new, and is it still new to you and still like, wow, that we're part of the big three?
It's such a hard question to answer. I think I haven't really thought about it much. I think a lot of people talk about it, and especially here lately, it's been a big topic of conversation. But for me, I'm just honestly living in the moment, trying to enjoy myself, but also staying focused and not taking it for granted. It's really hard to continue what we've done, and I realize how much work it takes and how many people I owe it to. So, for me, just trying to stay focused, kind of block all that out, and keep getting the job done is what's most important. Certainly been, really the last couple of years, I talk about it a lot. It's been amazing, and I don't want it to stop anytime soon. So, got to continue to work hard to stay on top, and I've got a great team, obviously, and that's what it takes at this level. You got to have every piece of the puzzle, and everybody's got to be working hard and working together, and so we have a great group, and hopefully we can continue it.
Al in the back, then we'll go to Dan and Jeff over here on the left.
Yeah, Martin, Al Pierce with Auto Week. You mentioned just a moment ago that you didn't know if Barney would want to go back on the car or could go back on the car for Furniture Row. Has the cost of racing gone that far in the last couple of years that he may not want to make the commitment now?
I don't know that it's really changed that much in the last couple of years. I think, obviously it probably, goes up a little bit each year, but I don't think it's changed drastically. I think perfect case scenario is we find somebody to replace 5 Hour and try to do it that way. I'm not sure. We haven't really had conversations about that, so I'm not sure where Barney's at, but we'll just see what comes of it.
Dan?
Dan Gelson, AP. Martin, you said last week there were still some pieces of the puzzle to put together on a contract extension. Can you move forward without a primary sponsor on that?
I think so. I think we can. Certainly makes things more difficult, but we've been talking about it, and honestly, it's it's not like we were just waiting on this to happen. It just was more of we're just trying to figure everything out. What's the best direction to go? Get all the details, and honestly, we haven't really worked that hard on it. It's been something that it's not really a pressing issue for me. I know what the team wants. I know where we're all at, and it's not like I'm nervous they're going to sign somebody else or I'm going to be searching for a ride. It's nothing like that. It's more just trying to focus on racing and feeling like it'll get done when it gets done.
We'll go Rich, and then we'll go Amy and Matthew over here on the left.
Martin over here, Rich Thompson, Boston Herald. Just comment on racing on this track and what it takes to win here.
Well, unfortunately, I don't know what it takes to win here. It's been a long time. It's been since '05, so trying to figure that out. I mean, we've been so strong here the past few seasons. It's always been a really good track for me over the years, and winning K&N races here, winning Xfinity in '05, and I really want to get that Cup win because this is a special place for me. I've been coming here a long time, since I was a teenager, and this place was really a big springboard for my career. Winning here in front of the Cup and the Xfinity guys really was a big part of the reason I got an opportunity to drive cars for a living. So it's a special place for me. I really love coming up here and really just trying to figure out how to get that Cup win. Led the most laps a few times in this race the last few seasons, and it seems like the last 75 or so we've not been able to somehow be in the front. So try to figure that out this weekend. Hopefully it's time.
Amy Harrop, Race Pro Weekly. Toyota's on a hot streak right now, so they've won four of the last races, including your win last week. How does it feel to be a part of that, such a strong team of drivers there? And what do you think gives Toyota the edge over other manufacturers in the sport?
Well, it's definitely a great team to be part of. Toyota does so much for the teams, for us. It's their passion for racing and what they put into the Cup Series it's amazing, and it's really cool to be a part of that. So yeah, I mean, the last couple of years our cars have been really good, and they've done a great job with on the engine side of giving us what we need and reliability and everything that comes with that. So it's been unbelievable. They're great supporters. I think if you look at it as a whole, great drivers, great race cars, and as I mentioned earlier, it takes all those puzzle pieces in the right spot and working together to make it happen. So for whatever reason, this has been a good track for that group, and we've definitely benefited from that in learning how to make our cars be good at this racetrack. So being part of that team and having cars from JGR and all that, it's definitely been a big bonus for us at this racetrack.
Matthew in the front.
Matthew Ernest with WWLP 22 News. Martin, I know there's only one race here now, and you've come so close, but how crucial is it, do you think, to win here this weekend?
Well, I don't know that it's crucial for our team or our season, but I think for me it's such a big one. It's one I want so bad. Winning here would be, for me, like winning at Daytona. I mean, it truly is. So just see if we can get it done. I know the team's fired up and ready to go and worked hard to be prepared to come here like they always do, and they're excited and optimistic. So that always makes me feel good and feel like we'll have a shot at it. And certainly we have a lot of momentum right now, so hopefully we can take advantage of it.
Gentleman here in the front, right here in front.
Nicholas Tito, YankeeRacer.com. Martin, I know that obviously Sherry's gone through a lot with her cancer treatments, and your foundation's done a lot in working with pediatric cancer and trying to improve their situation. You just talk about when something like that, it touches you and you try to give back to that community, like the $1 million donation you guys had a couple of months ago in Charlotte?
Yeah, I mean, it's been amazing to be able to be a part of that. And, honestly, when we started the foundation, it was just trying to do good and give back and help people. And it's since just become a part of our lives, a lot because of what Sherry's been through, but a lot because of the families we've met and got to kind of see the impact we've been able to make. And, I think we're surprised all the time at just how big of an impact we can make. So we've got some more events coming up and a lot of big news coming. We're working on some big projects, and hopefully we can continue to make a difference. And without the NASCAR fans and really everybody in the industry pitching in, it would be impossible. So a lot of people around here do a lot of good, and it's really neat to be a part of that.
Mark, go ahead.
Mark Garrow, PRN. Mark, you mentioned a moment ago about how many laps you've led, but not there at the end. In my head, I'm just thinking of the notes that I made this week. Like over 500 laps in the last 4 out of 5 races. I mean, when you think of that, you go like, how in the world did I not win if I led that many laps?
Yeah, I can't remember if it was July or the second race last year. We won the first stage and we were leading the second stage, coming to one to go, and we got caught up in that wreck on the backstretch. And then we battled back all day, and I think we ended up finishing fourth or something. So it's just been one of those deals where just wrong place, wrong time sometimes, and for whatever reason, it's just been a tough one for us to get. We've certainly performed well enough and been fast enough, as you mentioned. So, sometimes the biggest ones are the hardest ones, and I guess for me, this is a big one. So it's been difficult, but look forward to the challenge this weekend of trying to finish the deal.
Go ahead.
Hi, Terrell Covey with the Portsmouth Herald. You mentioned this place being a springboard for you. We talked a little bit about Ryan Preece earlier, who's had some success here. What advice would you have for young drivers who are out there at practice right now in this modified group in terms of parlaying success this weekend and at this track into a further opportunity?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of it's just about timing. Some of it's luck. You work hard, you race hard, and you try to do the right things on the racetrack, and hopefully, somebody will step in and help you out. I mean, for me, that's how it worked. I know today maybe it's a little bit different. It's a little bit harder, I would say, to parlay that short track or that touring series success into the next level. It's definitely harder today than it's ever been. But for those guys, I mean, at least for me, when I raced, I never even thought about getting hired to drive race cars. Honestly, I was just racing and loving what I was doing and working at the shop and being around a cool group of guys to just try to win races and have fun. Honestly, that's what I did, and it just caught me by surprise when I heard people were starting to talk and people were talking about maybe giving me a shot to drive their cars and things like that. So yeah, it was. I guess I was a little bit naive at the time, or it wasn't really on my radar. I just went racing and had a good time with it.
We'll wrap up with Dan.
Dan Gelson, AP. Martin, what, if anything, does it say about the state of sponsorship that 5 Hours stayed after Richmond but is leaving after a championship?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, a lot of things go into those decisions. I don't know a ton about their business and how it's doing or anything like that. Obviously, you'd think that with the success we've had and kind of how the last 2 years for us have went, that certainly we delivered on our end of the deal. We gave them a lot of exposure, but a lot of value in their sponsorship. But you never know the reasons why people like that want to go do something different, or maybe advertise less in general. It's hard to say. So I'm not going to make assumptions. I don't know the reasoning. I just know for us, it's something that we have to overcome.
How come you didn't go to L.A.?
I'm sorry? L.A.? As far as I know, I didn't get an invite. I mean, I'm not sure. Yeah, I went fishing, so I was up out at the Cape yesterday fishing with some family. So.
Last question in the back.
Mike Cronin, WMUR. Martin, how competitive is this track, and does your approach change at all when you come to New Hampshire Motor Speedway?
Yeah, it's a very competitive track, very difficult track. We know it's flat and it's somewhat of a short track at 1 mile, but difficult to pass, and it's really changed a lot, especially since last year when they started using the VHT traction compound. So it's totally changed the way we race here. It's changed the setup quite a bit, and really the approach through the weekend has changed a lot from what it used to be before they started using that. So I think a lot of people are still trying to figure it out. I felt like we have a pretty good feel on what we need to do this weekend, but the hard part about the VHT is it's ever changing. You never know what you're going to get, especially Saturday after the modified race, and they reapply the stuff usually Sunday morning, and sometimes it's a little bit different. So it's a challenging weekend from that aspect, with a lot of different cars on the track, a lot of laps being run, and that VHT wearing out and getting reapplied, and how that affects your car, and the changes you have to make to kind of keep it underneath you.
Thanks for your time, Martin.
Thank you, guys.
Good luck this weekend. Okay. We are joined here with 3 NASCAR Xfinity Series drivers. Kaz Grala drives the number 61 IT Coalition 1540. And Daniel Hemric drives the number 21 South Point Hotel and Casino Chevrolet. And Ryan Truex, who drives the number 11 Phantom Fireworks Chevrolet. Well, we open the floor for questions. Will Amy here?
Amy Harrop, Race for Weekly. question is for Kaz. Like, how does it feel to be back at home? And, you know, it's been a trying season for you this season, but just how does it feel to be back at your home track here?
Really good. I mean, we've been concerned about sponsorship the last few weeks, and we didn't make it out to Kentucky, but this was a race that all year long, even before stuff started to go downhill early in the year, this was the one I was waiting for. So I'm really excited to have gotten IT Coalition 1540 connection on board and to get us out to the racetrack here, because this is an important race for me, and it's always fun to have friends and family out here. It's only about an hour and a half from where I grew up, so this has always been a big event for me, and now I'm taking the next step in the Xfinity Series here.
We'll go Jeff here in the back, and then we'll go to the right with these two gentlemen.
Jeff Gluck from jeffgluck.com. For anybody who wants to answer it, what would the challenges be if Xfinity went to a dirt track? It seems like the cars are sealed down a little bit more than trucks. So would they have to be modified in any way?
I mean, I think, you know, it's kind of a two-part question, and I think even outside of that question, the trucks are obviously, they run around the racetrack the same way the Xfinity cars do as far as on the ground, everywhere we go. So they were able to make the same chassis adjustments and ride height adjustments in order to, I guess, to fill in for what they needed, you know, at Eldora. So I don't see why, if we ended up in a situation like that where we had to, we couldn't conform as well. I know our splitter height is, I think, an inch or two lower minimum or maximum splitter height, so that may be the only thing, is they may have opened up that window, but from the parts and pieces standpoint, it wouldn't be that big of an adjustment, I don't believe.
Pat Ticola, NASCAR.com for Ryan. The guy that just walked out, is it weird to see him win an ESPY? Like, what's that feeling?
It's cool. It's, you know, I'm his biggest fan. You know, I grew up, from the time I can remember, I was at the track watching him from, you know, Wall Stadium and Modified all the way up to the Cup Series now. So I know how deserving he is and how hard he's worked for it. So it's cool to see him get that recognition. And it hasn't gone to his head yet. He's, you know, he's still that down-to-earth guy. So it's been pretty cool.
Do you think it will?
No, I don't think so. He's not fazed by much. So I think he'll be just fine.
Go ahead.
Terrell Covey with the Portsmouth Herald. That's a question for Kaz. You know, for you, as she was mentioned earlier, it's been kind of a tough year, but you've continued to perform pretty well when you get out there. First off, how have you been able to kind of keep your head straight with everything else going on? And secondly, how important would it be for you to actually come out here and pick up a win here?
Well, that would be huge, and that would be a career changer, of course. But for me, I like to just keep a cool head, and from my standpoint, going to the track, it doesn't matter what team or what car I'm in, my responsibilities and goals are still the same. So even though we did switch over to be Fury race cars here about 6 races ago, I've continued to keep doing what I was doing early in the year. And I feel like even especially the last few races, our speed has really been picking up, and speed really fixes everything. So once we're a little bit faster, we start running better and get better finishes. So this car here, luckily, the positive of not going to Kentucky was we got a little bit more time with this car to work on it. So we've got our fingers crossed that this could be our best car yet.
Let's go to Mark.
Mark, Errol, Pierre, and I got one question apiece, Ryan and then and Daniel. Ryan, I look at your stats, and you guys are pretty well cranked in there, 10th to 15th. Do you feel you guys are getting ready to make that next step to where you're more of a 5th to 10th as opposed to 10th to 15th?
Yeah, I mean, we're working really hard. I feel like we've had our bright moments where we've run in that, you know, 8th to 12th region, and it seems like the last few races we've kind of been experimenting a little bit and just trying to find something that works for me as a driver, and something I'm comfortable with. So I felt like we actually made a really big gain at Kentucky last week, but we fought something else there that hurt our speed really all weekend. So we didn't really get the finish that I thought the car was capable of. But we've been starting to kind of go the direction that the 21 car's been going. You know, being teammates with him is nice because I can look at what he's doing and try to mimic it. And obviously they've had a lot of speed this year. So trying to just follow suit and find that speed to where we can run with them.
Daniel, speaking of speed, you have had a lot of it. How frustrated are you that you proved you can finish 3rd, proved you can finish 2nd, and, you know, the win just continues to elude you guys?
No, you're right. It definitely has eluded us, but I've also been in a situation where I've ran 10th to 15th and couldn't figure out how to make that next jump that Ryan, the 11 team, are trying to make too. So I'm proud of the effort that we put in, and when you put the effort in, you see results. That makes you feel like, as a whole, you're doing something right. And I know at the end of the day that my 21 teams, they have my back. They're doing everything they possibly can to put me in position to win races, and they know I'm doing everything I can on the racetrack to try to give them wins. And just hasn't all worked out in our favor yet, but I know the opportunities will continue to be there if we keep putting ourselves in position. And I think a lot of like what Ryan was talking about was, well, we have some teammates that we've all shown that if we can get close to each other's baseline, that when one of us have speed, the other cars, if they don't completely stay on path, that it's easy to lose that. But it's also, we proved last week that from a company-wide standpoint and from having teammates like them to lean on, we're able to make adjustments throughout the race to find that speed, and that's something I feel like we haven't been able to do in the past, and that's given us more opportunity. And as soon as those guys get to where I feel like they're on the same page and make the same kind of adjustments throughout race weekends, I think all of us should have more and more shots as we go down the road.
Gentleman right over here.
Bill Thomas, WPKZ Radio, Fitchburg, Mass. Questions for Kaz. Kaz, I know we've talked extensively in the last few weeks. You've been points racing, trying to make up that gap. Ryan's one of the guys you've been chasing. Now missing the race last week. Is that going to change your strategy coming into stages? Maybe do what other people aren't doing rather than trying to protect points?
Definitely. I mean, unfortunately, Kentucky did end our prospects of making it into the playoffs on points. So now we get to just try to race for wins. And more importantly, even than wins, is racing for 2019. We're trying to prove ourselves as a team and myself as a driver to where I can lock down a ride or a sponsor for 2019 full time. So right now we're basically just in the proving process, and so that's why we're going to as many races as we are.
Kaz, I talked to you briefly in the garage area earlier. I asked you why you didn't start in park last week, just to keep that string going so you would have the consecutive races. You talked about sponsor value by not doing that. Can you explain that a little bit? I really didn't understand that, where you've basically backed yourself in the corner having to win.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like at this high of a division, it's going to be hard to get into the playoffs on points anyway. But when you go out and you start in park, now you're putting yourself in an even deeper hole in points. So I'm pretty sure right now, even though we can't make it in on points, we probably wouldn't have been able to doing that either. So we might as well focus our efforts and our time on trying to run as well as possible, try to put ourselves in a position for a win, and that helps our partners, that helps my potential future, and still could put ourselves in a position to request a waiver.
Any other questions? Right here in the front.
Question for Daniel. Nicholas Tito, YankeeRacer.com. You mentioned the collaboration helping this team. Obviously, you made the championship 4 last year, but what's been the difference this year that's allowed the car to be more consistent and contending in the top 5?
Honestly, I may get in trouble for saying this, but I think as a company, any successful company, I think at the Cup Series level, and they happen to have Xfinity Series teams, they all tried in some way, shape, or form to stay on the same kind of baseline. And I think the further we continue down that path in the past, that we've kind of got disconnected from the rule differences and from some of the things that made the Xfinity cars what they are, with the exception of what the Cup cars are. And I think we were able to be given a little bit more freedom on the Xfinity side of things to kind of treat it as our own cars and do our own things with them. And I think the results and speed is kind of shown for itself. So I think as a whole, that's allowed us to make the steps in the right direction, and we're continuing to go that direction. It's no secret that RCR hasn't been where they want to be, and I'm as big a part of that as anybody over the past 2 to 3 years. And at least on the Xfinity Series side of things, I think we're turning the corner and doing a lot of things right. And if that happens to help the Cup side, that's all fine and good, because at the end of the day, when I roll through those gates on Monday morning, there's 430 people there working their tails off to give us race cars that, in both series, the best they're possibly capable of. So if we're making a stride in the right direction, hopefully it's a good thing for all of us as a company.
Anybody else? Thank you, gentlemen. Good luck this weekend. We are now joined by NASCAR Xfinity Series driver Ryan Preece, who drives the number 18 Falmouth Ready Mix Toyota. Let's open the floor to questions. Right here in the front. Is it Terry?
Terrell Covey, Portsmouth Herald. Ryan, I just wanted you to see if you could talk a little bit about how special this place is for you and how big it would be for you to come up here and maybe pick up a win or two this weekend.
Yeah, it would be pretty nice. It's definitely special to me just because this is what really started this whole thing last year when we finished second to Kyle. So it was it's nice to be back, and obviously I love New Hampshire. I've been coming here since 2007, so hopefully we can have a strong day, both in the Xfinity car and the modifieds, and we're still going to keep trying to make some gains in the modified. We struggled with tires, so not really sure. Going to have to use that All-Star race as a test session, but I think at the end, when it counts on Saturday, we should have pretty good race cars.
Go ahead.
Paul Lambert from Short Track Scene. Ryan, the Xfinity ride this week wasn't originally on your schedule with Joe Gibbs. Can you kind of tell me how that kind of came together for you?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the people that supported me last year to do those two races, they wanted to get involved and do it again, and so we put it together so we can come back and race here at New Hampshire in front of all their friends and family and my friends and family. It was a really big deal last year, so we ended up putting it together, and hopefully we can do one spot better.
We'll go Pat, and we'll go over here.
Pat DeCola, NASCAR.com. You obviously have one of the more unique stories to tell in the garage area. Is your path to success something that you can wear as a badge of honor, or does it not matter how you get there as long as you get there?
I mean, it's just one of those deals where I've pretty much won championships at every track that I raced at in the Northeast. I won the Wheel and Modified Tour Championship. I've won a lot of prestigious races, and opportunities just weren't coming. It's not that I felt like I couldn't do the job. They just weren't coming. So what are you going to do if those opportunities aren't coming and you could do it? And pretty much I had to do whatever I had to do to get in that ride and get that opportunity and show these guys, hey, I may race modifieds, but I can do the job that needs to be done.
Is that something that you feel proud of, or is it not really matter?
I mean, it is what it is. At the end of the day, I did the job that I felt like anybody, I did the job as best as I could have done, or I really don't know much more that I could have done. You know what I'm saying?
Rachel Holt-Nesson, do you get the sense that the NASCAR fan base is growing in the New England area?
John Haverland, ESPN Albuquerque. So you come to a lot of the Northeast races, and everyone kind of knows who you are. You're like the face of like New England racing in a way, more or less. But do you feel like you kind of walk around the garage in the Xfinity area and you're kind of like pump your chest out, or is it still like you're still humble about your ability to race? And
A lot of people that know me know I'm just Ryan Preece. I'm some goofy guy that walks around the garage area that drives a race car. But a lot of Daniel, Ryan, Truex, we all know each other. But as far as pumping your chest out or walk around like I'm not that type of person, and would never do that. So I walk into that garage like I put my shoes on, just like each and every one of you. Just another guy that's lucky enough to come here at a national stage and race in the series.
Anyone else? Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Yeah, quick. You sure? Go ahead.
Sorry.
Don't like the microphone?
Yeah, a little shy. I just wondered, you talked about kind of running around and doing the different races, but how important for, aspiring drivers is it to get that seat time in as many different race cars as they can get?
Well, from my standpoint, I have a strong opinion on this. There always seems like some people feel that they need to do that direct path. I got to go from a Legends car to a late model to a K&N car to, a truck, Xfinity, whatever. I didn't do that. I was lucky enough early on. I had a lot of support from Tommy Baldwin, who kind of got me dabbling in this Xfinity series. But I raced modifieds, I raced midgets, I raced a whole bunch of stuff. And then, by the age of 16, I'm from Connecticut. I'm not going to go out west. So I pretty much just stayed in the modifieds, ran SK modifieds, tour type all different touring series. And I was winning a lot throughout the series or throughout the Northeast. I've won ever since 2012. Nick Tito right here could probably tell you I've won at least 15 or so more races each year that I've ran. So I think the best thing to do is race because you love to race and not you're chasing a dream, but at the same time you love the sport. So that was the mentality I had pretty much all my career. And then Tommy got me involved in this, and I said, okay, well, I wanna be successful in this, and so I started chasing after the dream, and luckily and fortunate, I have great supporters. Falmouth Ready Mix, Albert and Kathy, they do so much for me, along with Mizzy, Mohawk. They were some really big supporters last year to really make this happen, and GMI Asphalt and Wildco last year, and GMI came back on this year. Just without the support of those people, I wouldn't be sitting here right now. I wouldn't have won Iowa. I wouldn't have even had the opportunity that I had. So I think a lot of it is just you got to have good people around you, and you got to want to do it because you love the sport, not just because you're chasing after to be in front of TV cameras and the whole deal.
Thank you, Ryan. Good luck this weekend. Appreciate it.